Welcome back to another episode of SuckcessFull, the podcast.
I'm one of your hosts, Blake, and joining me,
I'm one of your other hosts, Justin.
And this is the podcast all about the not so subtle truth about success and
the art of sucking less in pursuit of it. Let's not waste any more time and get right to the show. Blake, we got a guest today.
We do, an extra special guest. Welcome, Phyll.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me.
I'm just going to be honest here. I feel like I was more voluntold, but yes, we're glad to have you here.
Perfect.
No, we're so excited. So we've got Phyll Pascoe here. Phyll, welcome to SuckcessFull.
Thank you very, very much, Justin. I follow the podcast. Love it. See, you've just posted another one, so I'll be watching that later.
Absolutely. Now, one thing the audience needs to be aware of is that we talked briefly offline and we've been exchanging emails for a while now that poor Phyll is incredibly nervous. You'll never be able to tell by her. I think the first thing we got to, this is a safe zone, Phyll. You know that, right?
Well, luckily, I know you both.
Okay, good. I'm a little bit more safe than Blake. Blake sometimes throws those curveballs. Now, they're wonderful curveballs. They're knowledge bombs, but just be aware of them, okay?
Yes, I've heard them.
Wait, I'm the curveball one, you think? Really?
No, it's definitely me, but I'm gonna toss that over there. That's how I'm subjugating you. Yes.
Hey, I think it's both of you.
That's probably accurate.
That is accurate. Now, the cool part about Phyll, though, is you're down in good old New Zealand, huh?
Sure am. Yep. Down under.
Now,
so there's two countries called Down Under, or that they call Down Under, Australia and New Zealand. And so I'm New Zealand. I'm a Kiwi.
Phyll, you want to start off and introduce yourself to our wonderful audience?
Yes, I don't quite know what your wonderful audience will want to know, but my name is Justin said, is Phyll Pascoe. I live on the Coromandel. I am nearly 70. I am a dog trainer as well as still holding down another full-time job. That's basically me. I live on the Coromandel Peninsula, and if anybody has heard of Cathedral Cove in Hollaway, I'm very close to that.
Well, for those who don't know, one thing that I think is really interesting about Phyll is that she is awesome at social media. She does almost all of her content on video, which I have to give props to because I can't tell you how many people are scared to do that. So, Phyll, do you want to talk a little bit about what got you into doing reels and kind of what that whole journey has been like for you?
Well, I can blame Justin for getting me into reels. He started me off, but luckily I had been doing training on YouTube with my own dogs, because if you use video for training, it's really, really helpful because you can look back on it and see what's gone wrong and what's gone right and adjust from there. So I was a little bit used to it, but it was still a bit scary changing it into public, but at least I was a little bit used to being on camera. That's made it easier for me. I find it quite frustrating at times, as you and I have had conversations about algorithms, and sometimes I want to throw the phone into the sea because they all sort of have their issues. But yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful thing doing reels. I enjoy it on the whole now. I do actually enjoy it. I'm sort of used to it. I feel a little bit sometimes tied to it when I think, oh God, what have I got to put out today? Because Justin has impressed upon me the consistency is needed. In fact, 700 yesterday, I hit 700. That includes the stuff you put up, Blake. But I know. So that was pretty awesome.
Now, how many of those are nudes?
Nudes?
Yeah.
Well, the dog, you could probably call the dog nude. So probably 650 of them if you want to call the dog nude.
Okay. I'm going to let you know right now, your membership just went up for crazy reasons. All right. You may be at 100,000 followers after this. But in all seriousness, so you started this road into this digital platform and changing a lot. And I think one of the messages I really want to hit home today was kind of the change process. I think it's so cool. And I would say because we talked about this together beforehand, is I think it's so neat that you've always embraced change. I've known you for almost 3 years now, I think, something like that. And it's so neat to watch you because the mediums have changed. We've gone through COVID. You've grown your company. You've had divisions there. You've done all these things for this period of time here. But my first question to you is, what's driven you to do this? Because I've known a lot of people in my day, and you're one of the most adaptive that I've come across. And I want to know what you've done in your life to be so adaptive and continue to laugh and to I made a new joke a second ago. It didn't even faze you. You jumped right in it. That's hard for a lot of people. So you're very natural at this and you're very comfortable in your own skin. What makes you, do you feel, so resilient, so forward moving, and so the ability to rebound so much?
Well, I have to say that I don't know that I've always adapted for change. I find change hard, like most people. Change is scary, but I had this thing. I don't want to just, at my age, I'm already getting retirement benefit, but I'm still working full time, and I don't want to just sit on the couch. That's not me. And I thought, when you get to my age, you will discover it one day that you actually want to serve, and you still want to make some money doing it, but you want to serve in a way that is benefiting mankind, whatever. That sounds all highfalutin, but it's still something that I've been searching for a long time. And I thought, well, why not dog training? I've been trying to change over the years to being more accepting of what I am and who I am and what I can do. That's sometimes been a struggle, but I am pretty resilient. I am pretty determined. There are times when I have to sort of say, get up, Phyll, kick myself in the ass. But I, on the whole, I'll do it. I want to do it. That's the thing. I want to do it. Attitude to me is everything. When you've got a good attitude, then you can move mountains. I love this quote that I don't know who said it, actually, that some people go for a walk in the rain, other people just get wet. And I think that's really, really true. So you might be having a really bad day. Kick yourself in the ass and get up and carry on. Even if it's just one tiny little bit, one step, one minute step, you're going forward. And that's something that I strive to do.
Awesome.
Love that. How long have you been in business as an entrepreneur? Have you always been an entrepreneur, or did you only more recently go into that the last couple of years with your dog training business, Optimistic Dogs?
Depends on what you call entrepreneur, Blake. I, in 1994, did a sudden change. I used to air freight horses around the world. And strangely enough, after 16 years, that got a bit old hat and things changed in the industry as well. So I left and I became a courier. And strangely, there, you were working for one company, but you were running your own business. So if you want to look at it that way, that's where I started. From there on, I didn't want to go back to working for somebody else again. And then go forward a few years and I met Mitch. And long story short, I came into the business. I've been helping him run the business for, since 2003, so 20 years. And it was only because we're reaching that point of getting out that in 1968, I thought, right, that's what I'm going to do. And so I did all my training and so on. So if you want to call being a courier, which was madness, by the way, absolute madness. I started in this beginning of December in 1994, and it was like, I thought I knew Auckland. I didn't know Auckland. You don't know a place until you're a courier. Fairly horrendous to begin with, but it was my own business. So yeah, and that's me. I've been searching for a long time, and dog training is something I know I'm helping people, which is great.
So what would you say has been the easiest and the hardest thing as you've gone through business through your life?
More recently, I'm going to say the hardest is technology, because I've really got to get into that. That is where I definitely want to throw things in the ocean. But I also love it. Technology is amazing. I just bought a new tool the other day and said to Mitch, how do I put this together? And he did it for me, which is fantastic. So that's more recently is the hardest. In previous times, I suppose it's just making sure I keep my cool when I'm dealing with clients. I totally believe in win-win. In everything in life, win-win is really important. So I don't want to have arguments. I don't want to have negativity. I don't want to be roll over and be stomped on either. But I'm always looking for a win-win. But sometimes some clients make it hard. And I have to remind myself that actually 95% of our clients are fantastic. It's probably the hardest is dealing with those sort of side of things. The best is, funnily enough, Justin, when I think about that, is embracing change, is actually, you wake up to a new day. You can choose how that day is going to go. And I'll give you an example. When I was a courier, the dispatcher would hand out the jobs in the morning. So you'd start off 7 o'clock in the morning and the dispatcher would hand you out. And some people would moan because they'd get a pathetic run, which wasn't going to make them much money. They'd moan and snivel on the radio. And I thought, they're setting themselves up for a whole bad day. And I just chose to go with it because I thought the attitude is, if I'm nice to the dispatcher, they're going to look after me and give me decent runs when they are able to do so. To me, that attitude of trying to do the right thing yourself and also trying to be positive and not put negativity in the world. I get drained with negativity.
I think you actually set up for the next phase that I was going to ask you about here in a second is the idea of making that change, though, for a lot of people, there's a struggle there. And I know for myself, I've been there, and change is, you said it yourself, it's difficult. But it's funny because a lot of those decisions you look back on, you're like, well, that was an easy decision to make. Of course, I should have been doing that. But at the time, it's nerve-wracking. You're not sleeping, you're biting your nails, you're doing whatever, and you're worried about finances or you're worried about partnerships or whatever it is. In the past, like especially going from a courier to going into the boat business and everything else, what do you think put you in that position? And I know that we've talked about you helping people, which is huge. The win-win. And for those that have never thought about this before, like it's absolute bullshit. I'm going to tell you right now. In life, the whole idea, compromising doesn't work. Negotiations usually fail. No one ever wins in a negotiation. It's one party or the other. However, in a win-win relationship, everybody wins. It's symbiotic. It fosters growth at the end of the day. When you go to business schools and everything else, it's always about the art of negotiation. That's bullshit. It does not work. Negotiation means one side wins, another side loses, and they're bitter about it. And it goes down the supply chain. So the idea here is, I love it on the win-win. As you move forward and you progressed in your career, what do you think, though, getting through those change moments, what helped you through those? What was not just your drive, but what else behind that kind of kicked you in the butt to do some of these things? I know we're kind of glossing over, like I did this and then that, because a lot of us do that. But those are pivotal moments in time. Those are big leaps in your life. As you recall some of these, and we can go current, we can go past, wherever you want to. But what do you think was the driver behind a lot of these that actually helped you get through this so that we can share with the audience what they can look for as well?
It's hard, and this is going to sound really highfalutin, and some people will go, oh, fuck. But it's really a desire to serve and to make an impact before it's too late. And I really think that a lot of people my age want to do that, but don't know how. I've always been in the service industry, but I think my drive to actually make an impact in the world is what has picked me up. And there are times when I'm tired and I think, oh God, like I don't want to do this, because age does you can't do what you used to do 30 years ago, and you do get tired. But if you just keep remembering, I want to serve, I've got this is my dream. It doesn't, everybody's got their own dreams, but this is my dream. I want to serve in a way that I can make a definite impact. And that is what actually is probably behind me keeping on going, and also I tell myself step by step, day by day. That's important too. When I just sort of think, well, get off your fucking ass and do something. And just that little thing, even if it's like a minute training with your dog, which you can also use as a reel, by the way. and having fun, like I have fun. I really enjoy my clients. I have, as dog training clients, I have fun with them and their dogs, and I love watching the progress. So as you know, both of you, that I've just started Zoom training recently because of my operation, and I was really nervous to begin with because technology. Anyway, I worked it out, and I got people to put in second devices onto their I can't imagine doing that 2 years ago. And I really enjoyed watching, whether it's in person or on the Zoom. That helps me get up the next day and carry on with what I'm doing.
I think too, it's you're kind of touching on something that I think is really important as well, which is loving what you do and having, it's much easier to be motivated when you actually love what you're doing and love the impact that you're making. And I love that you said that word, because as I've mentioned on some of our other episodes, that's really my focus this year is impact and paying attention to how the actions I'm taking and the way that I'm going about things impact me, impact the people around me, and impact the world as a whole. So I love that you mentioned that as well. So I guess my question would be, as far as, because you brought up your surgery, as far as that's concerned, can you kind of talk through your journey of going through surgery and what it's like trying to run a business simultaneously? Maybe some things you found easier that you didn't expect to find easier, and some things that were difficult for you and how you overcame that?
I think the first thing is ask for help, which I did. As you know, you've been doing a lot of my posts and so on ever since, and we're continuing, but I couldn't do it all, especially initially. And so that's number one, ask for help. And I find it difficult, and probably a lot of other people find it difficult, because I've sort of got this history of, if you don't do it yourself, it won't get done. And that's bullshit, really. Maybe certain people, I don't know. But so ask for help is the first thing. And then the other thing is just day by day, step by step. I got up and did reels. I don't know whether you've seen them. When I got the dogs back, because they were away for 8 weeks, and that was depressing. When I got them back, and I just thought, well, I'm going to carry on doing reels. I've got one crutch now, so I can do reels. So I was doing that, and I had fun with my dog. Like, I do the reels, but I also want to make sure that my dog is having fun and I'm having fun with it. Step by step, there's that disgusting quote about how do you eat an elephant. I mean, I just think it's gross. But anyway, it's the bit by bit. It's actually true. I'd love to try and change that into something that was more acceptable to my brain, but it is actually true, just step by step and just do a little bit each day. And that's what I've done. And I'm now back to sort of semi one crutch, no crutch. The surgeon said to me, you can't do any exercise with the dogs. And I thought, bullshit, I'll be fine. And she was right. So I started walking without the crutch and I thought, shame. Damn. But so, I'm just adjusting, and it'd be, I get clearance on Monday and there'll be a big exercise program and we'll be back by Christmas. We'll be back to normal. And I'm just going to carry on day by day, doing my reels, working with you, working with Bridget and working with Justin, and we'll carry on and we'll grow it. I don't want to set the world on fire, but I do want to be able to help people from wherever I am in the country. And I think you guys know that we're buying a caravan next year and we're going to travel around the country, not for weeks and weeks on end, but I want to be able to do Zooms with people wherever we are in the country. We might be down in the South Island in a beautiful place called Mount Cook, if you ever look it up, and I can help people because we're going to get that Starlink thing.
That's awesome.
Elon Musk thing. So just day by day and just keep it up and don't give in. There were times that I wanted to give in, when I was feeling tired and I was feeling grumpy and my hip was sore and I just thought, no, fuck it, do it.
Was there anything that you actually thought was going to be challenging during that time that ended up being easier than you expected?
Yeah, doing the reels, because you guys both said to me, you've got a ton of content. I don't think I posted one reel during that 8-9 weeks, whatever it was. I don't think I reposted one reel. I went back over all my thousands of videos and chose new videos. That actually was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, I mean, I just decided, I can do that. And it was actually you guys that put the idea into my head about reposting. And then I decided to go through all these thousands of videos. Thank God I had thousands of videos. And then I took little snippets out of it. So that was much easier because I thought that was going to be a nightmare. I thought, how do I do that? I'll be 8 weeks without talking to anyone and then everybody will desert me. But it didn't. So that was probably the easiest.
I mean, first of all, it's amazing. But secondly, one thing I think a misnomer about social media is too, very rarely do people leave you. Consistency is key, 100%. However, if you miss a little bit, people tend to stay with you because they're lazy. I hate to say this, but I think we all know it. They're like, I'll just stay on there. I've already joined. Why not? Right? It's the whole mentality there.
Oh my gosh.
Probably true.
Well, I would argue it's not so much laziness as, sure, is there some of that? Yes. But in my own experience, when I had to take, I think it was like 2 weeks off because I was traveling and then I got in a car accident and I had to deal with all of that. I had to stop posting for like 2 weeks. And I told everybody, I was like, I'm going on hiatus. I'll be back. And I was worried about that. I was worried my algorithm was going to get messed up. I was worried that people were going to be like, oh, because it's a long time to go. I think it was 2 weeks to go without posting. And surprisingly, my followers and subscribers were very understanding. And they ended up actually messaging me and just saying, hey, hope everything's good. I miss your posts that I see every day, but it made me appreciate it even more. And I thought that was interesting. I would say for those of you who do get scared about taking those breaks, sometimes you have to. And you need to worry more about taking care of yourself and your health than the algorithms, the subscribers. If they are actually your people, then they will let you take care of yourself and come back and they'll wait.
Absolutely.
Very true. Yeah, if they're your people, and that's the key, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge piece of this. Now, I want to go back to you building the community because you started at zero, which is very few people understand and they get daunted with the idea of what if they get caught. We talked about this in many podcasts, the what if cycle of, oh shit, what if? The minute you start saying what if to yourself, I'm just going to tell you now, you're fucked. You've got to stop saying what if and say, how do I? What do I do next? Ask different questions, get better answers. So you started from a place and you were nervous. How did you do it? Sincerely from our audience, because I worked with you with this on the beginning, so I know a little bit of it, but sincerely, you did it. You finally took that first step, which was difficult. Then you kept going, which a lot of people don't because it takes a while to build an audience. And not only that, you keep going after surgery, after all the other crap that went on, after tropical storm, after landslide, after all these things.
Another one coming.
Welcome to the new world, right? So tell us sincerely, how did you start? What gave you that motivation to keep going when it was difficult in those moments? Because it's not just about faith. There are other things inside you that kept you going. And I'd love to learn, and I'd love our audience to learn more about what drew that.
I'm a huge learner. I love to learn. And I like Mandela's quote about, I never lose, I either win or I learn. Where the learning can stop you a little bit is if you keep learning and keep learning and keep learning, and that stops you starting. It's a really good way to procrastinate. And I know that in myself. When I made the decision that I wanted to do it, I joined a course to enable me to create a course. And you know how long that took. to get going. But I just thought, I'm going to bloody persevere. So I did. And then the reels, you were encouraging me to get on social media. And I just sort of started that off very tentatively. I must actually have a look at my number 1 to 5 or something, but it was very tentative. And I just grew confidence. And I really believe that thoughts become things. If you think I can do it, you'll do it. You'll find the way to do it. If you think I can't do it, you're fucked. There's the odd time with technology that I've thought, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to find somebody to do it for me, which is Bridget and Blake have come in, because it's sort of, I just thought this is a waste of my time. I think it's just the can-do attitude. If you can do it, you will do it. If you can't do it, you might as well go and lie on the couch. And I don't want to go and lie on the couch. I don't know. I can't answer that really in more than I've said. I think it is the willingness to serve, the thoughts become things, the fact that I think I can do it, the fact that I know that by doing this, I can help people and help myself. I'm not totally altruistic. That would be really nice, but I'm not. I want to live. And yeah, I think all those sort of things. And it's exciting. It's rewarding as well. You know, I mean, in amongst all the frustration of the technology and fucking algorithms, like, in amongst all that, it's actually very rewarding. It's very, it's exciting learning. I love learning. It really is exciting. You learn one thing and then that puts you to another level and then you learn the next thing. To me, that's really rewarding and it's fun. And I love having fun with my dogs. I love having fun with my clients. And I have this sort of thing I learned many, many years ago. I went to a Wayne Dwyer seminar and he had this Australian lady on. I can't remember her name. And she said about laughter. And I try and remember it every now and again. And she said, if you don't feel like laughing about something, you know, you're feeling a bit down in the dumps and you don't feel like laughing, go and find yourself a corner and start laughing. And it will become real laughter. Like you can't help yourself because you feel like such a twit. And she said, and you'll be amazed if there's anybody in the office next door, they'll come out to see what the fuck you're doing and they'll start laughing too. And to me, that is really true because it changes your whole way of thinking on that at that particular moment.
I think you're leaving off one piece of this that I think is so important, and that is humility and the ability to laugh at yourself and not take yourself too seriously, because that is a huge trait that you possess. And I think it comes across as so genuine. You'll do videos any time of day. You'll do all these kind of things. You're just so raw and real. And I think that's so awesome. A lot of people want to be perfect all the time, and they believe that the perception that other people make of you will be based on all those things, and it's not. And one example I have that, please don't judge me from this, but I don't know if you have it down south, and I know Blake knows of this show, but there's a great show called Bachelor in Paradise. Okay. I'm going to admit I watch it. It's absolute trash. It is so fantastic. Okay. And you guys are going, why is he bringing this up? Because one of the most embarrassing things that I could ever imagine doing on camera, but I got a very good reaction to it. Okay. So this poor woman, and this is all on there. If you want to watch this latest season, her name is Samantha. Day 9, and they do all this great music to it. She has not gone to the bathroom for 9 days. She's been constipated for 9 days. Okay.
Poor woman.
Well, hang on. So the doctor comes down and says, listen, if you don't go tomorrow, and this is all on national TV, right? You're going to have to deliver a poop baby. Okay.
Oh my God.
Long story short, she gets kicked off. Because she has to go to the hospital. It means her time in paradise is out. The most embarrassing thing most of us can ever think happened to us, right? On national TV, you're trying to find love and this happens to you. All these people were incredibly gracious. They were nice. No one said anything weird. No one teased her, like all that kind of stuff. And so I tell you that because even in weird circumstances, people do want you to succeed. Those that don't, get the hell out of your life. They serve no value to you or honestly, any purpose in humanity other than to motivate you to do something else. If you are concerned with being embarrassed, or you're concerned with being held back, or you don't want to be seen a certain way, think of poor Samantha on Bachelor in Paradise. And if she could go through that and come out the other side and no one seemed to scrutinize her, you can do it too. That's my motivation to you today, because I watched the episode last night and I could not, of course I'm laughing about it now because I mean, a poop baby, who does not laugh at that, right? And they're talking all seriously about this. get out of your comfort zone and go do these things, because even in those moments when you feel total despair, I can't imagine what she was going through. There were, I think at the time, 20 people on this place. They all supported her. They weren't like, oh my God, that's gross or whatever. Like they were all there. They checked in on her. They did all these things that you want another human being to do for you. These are not the type of people you would think would do that. Okay. These are like the very vain, very shallow, most of them people. And they still did that. Don't lose faith in humanity. Get out there, do your thing. And the point of this here is to you now, what have you done that you look back on and wish you did not do in this transition phase here that others people can learn from?
I wish I didn't do. I worried too much for a long time about what people thought. Blake said it before, and I've tried to learn that lesson throughout, that, you want to find your people. I think I was held back too much by other people's opinion. That really did hold me back. And, I'm nearly 70, so I've got a long history of reasons, which I won't bore you with. But I think I didn't get out of my own way for a long time. And you've got to, because as long as you can look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I'm a good person, I try and do the right thing. If you can do that, well, fuck everybody else who doesn't like you. You've just got to learn to accept that some people won't like you. And let's face it, there are some people I don't like. And that's fair enough. That's the world. We'd be all fairly boring otherwise. So that's probably my main thing that I wish I'd actually got out of my own way a long, long time ago, because I think I would have started doing something like this a very long time ago. But I felt like imposter syndrome reigned and still reigns to a certain extent. And so I try and turn that. My thoughts have got to be positive. But it took me a very, very long time. I did training for a life coach many years ago. I did health coach training. I never did anything with it because I had no confidence in myself. Like, why me? Now I try and say, why not me?
High five.
Love that. Yes. Can you kind of give our audience some suggestions and advice on how you actually go about overcoming the imposter syndrome and kind of getting away from caring so much about what other people think of you?
It's difficult and we're all different. I think that horrible expression, you've got to work on yourself, but I think it's true. You've actually got to do work on yourself. You've actually got to delve into why you're thinking these things. And when you actually do delve in, some of the things I've delved into, and I thought, well, fuck, why on earth did I let that stop me all these years? That was somebody's opinion, and they're entitled to their opinion, but I don't need them in my life. When you actually start looking at those things that give you imposter syndrome, and I think we probably all suffer from it to a certain extent, then you can start to think, well, that's just ridiculous. I'll do my own thing. I will be a good person because that's what I want to do. I want to serve. I want to help people. And if you look yourself in the mirror and you think, yeah, okay, you're not that bad. You're actually a good person. You try and help people. You try and get win-win. You try and do all these things. That helps. All those things help. But you have to actually explore what's got you there in the first place unless you uncover why you've got imposter syndrome. You're not going to be able to do anything to change it, in my opinion.
I love that.
I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there. I still have that. Who am I? I kick myself in the ass and say, well, why not? Why not me?
And this is not a religious question, but any stretch of the imagination. But I think at any point in life, you have to have faith. And I'm not talking like necessarily in a higher power, but you need to have faith in what you're doing, that it's going to work out. But you can't have blind faith. So what have you used as kind of those milestones of faith in your life to get you to this state where you are? Everyone can tell you're very exuberant, you're passionate, you're exciting. I have a mother-in-law, and Ellen, I love you to death, but it's hard to get you excited. So it's fun to see, that you're embracing life, you're cherishing it, and you also are appreciative that time is limited. We don't ever talk about that as a society, but time is limited, right? Like, unfortunately, we're here for a bleep, so we got to take advantage of it. What faith do you have to that you can impart on others if they're struggling in these times, that would help them get through these moments as well?
Well, I think the faith is probably from, if you look at what you have achieved, we tend to concentrate on what we haven't done well or can't do or whatever. If we look at what we have done, even the day-by-day thing, you do that with a dog, right? This is as a weird analogy. People sort of tend to notice the dog when they're doing things wrong. And what about all the hundreds of things they're doing right all day? So if you look at it that way, then it gives you a really good insight that actually you can do. There's all these things you've done over the years And okay, so there's that number of things that you've done over the years, and there's that number of things that you haven't or wish you'd done better or whatever. And I think that's what's given me faith, that I've actually proven to myself that there are a lot of things I can do. I mean, even the technology, you've seen me grow with technology. You've also seen me frustrated with technology. But the thought of doing Zoom calls 2 years ago was just like, yeah, right. And so I think the having faith is building your confidence, which you can only do with uncovering your problems and working on them, and building your confidence and remembering all those things, because there are bloody hundreds of things that we've all done well. And in fact, I remember, Blake, you had talked about that on a podcast, that one of your friends reminded you of something that you'd done a long time ago, and you thought, oh yeah, I have too. So keeping those things fresh is what gives you the confidence to try something new.
I love that.
Well, it has me anyway. It has me.
I agree with that 100% with everything you just said. And I think too, it gets down to with self-confidence, what you were kind of saying about reminding yourself of all the different pieces and the things that you've done in building that. It is learning to trust your own abilities and trust your own decision-making. And I think sometimes that's hard because it requires you to sort of step away from yourself in the sense that you have to look at yourself from almost this outside perspective. And I'd say one thing that's difficult with some of that, especially being on social media and being on video in particular, is that we kind of get worried about how people are going to perceive us, and we get worried about the trolls. And I actually had a friend of mine call today and ask similar questions about how do you keep your self-confidence going when you start getting these social media trolls, because she was getting ready to start this new channel. She's expecting some backlash or some conflict from the people in her life. And I said, well, it starts with number one, your people. But the second thing would be, I mean, how do you? For me, my advice was, well, when you start finding the right people on social media and your right followers, I don't get a lot of trolls personally. I mean, I get a couple of people here and there, but when I do, I ignore it. Well, how do you deal with trolls on the internet?
So far, I haven't had many either. I've had somebody a couple of times who've tried to draw me in over something, and I've answered them in the best way I can to help them see my perspective. Then they've come back at me. This is just like one person came back at me with this long diatribe. And I thought, I don't need to answer that, because it was just like it was going to go nowhere. I have seen recently a whole business get wrecked by trial by social media. I think that was atrocious. I think it was incredibly sad to see the attacks that were going on, some of them with anonymous members, which I just think it's the pits. If you're going to say something, then have the balls to actually stand up and put your name there. I haven't had to yet, but I think that I would actually somehow delete them. I might have to ask you how to do that. If I started getting that sort of thing, I would actually also look at what I was doing if I was getting multiple things like that. But I think it's definitely finding your people. And, when you look at your likes, I found you've got to be careful about how much you're going to look at likes and so on. But when you look at them and you say you might get some dislikes, but most of you are likes, and then you think, okay, well, those are my people, the people that like it. So with trolls, I think it's awful what people will do to each other on social media. And I think it's got worse since COVID, but unfortunately it's carrying on. It actually hurts in my heart to see how people can attack each other. And I think, why? We're all humans. We're all, we might have differing opinions, but why attack? Just stay out of the fucking way. If you don't like what somebody's saying, just just shut up.
But Phyll, my opinion matters.
All our opinions matter.
I disagree with that.
Entitled. I know you're being facetious, but everyone's entitled to an opinion. But don't you think there's a difference between somebody having an opinion and somebody attacking? That's what I saw in the business that I was talking about, that the attacks were mind-blowing. I answered quite a few of these people sort of saying, well, hang on, et cetera, et cetera. Some of them responded in a positive way. Others carried on the thing, and I just got out of it. But I was trying to support the people that were being attacked. And I just think I worry actually about what's happening to us as humans, that we attack. I really seriously worry, because it's like war. I just think war is so sad and unnecessary, that we're all, why does it have to be war? Well, to me, the social media sort of trolling thing is like a war. And I think it's a really sad state of humanity. And I think it could be so good. I think social media in its natural sort of state can be amazing. You can learn a lot. You can, you learn to find people and you follow them and so on, and you find your people. just like you want your people to find you. But when it gets into that, I just think it's a very sad state of humanity, and I just don't want to be a part of it. I try to be positive. I don't want to be in this negativity. It's crap.
So I agree with you. And I know Blake does adamantly, because we've talked about this before. But what I'll say is that one thing that's helped me in the past, when either someone comes after me or something negative happens, my dad, my mom, one of them said this to me when I was younger. And I think it's the most brilliant thing. And I think it's so great and gets me to laugh every time. It's that opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one and everyone thinks everyone else's stinks. Okay. And but it's so true. And that's why it gives me that laughter, because I'll realize very quickly that one, sometimes they're just trying to engage, and don't play that game. Like, don't fall prey to someone else's negativity. Just because their life sucks and their mentality isn't there, it doesn't mean that you have to be sucked into their vortex. The other piece of it is, what benefit does it do to you? If you're stuck in these situations, I always ask those questions of, remember, it's just their opinion. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't at the end of the day. You're not a heart surgeon and in the emergency room. Okay, that's what the second thing I weigh it against. And that is someone going to die today if I say this? No. Like, if you're offended, I'm sorry. That's on you. I'm not responsible for your feelings. I am responsible for the content of what I say and my intent behind it. And so if my intent was pure, my intentions were good, and my message was clear, and you chose to be offended or you chose to be whatever, that's on you. I'm not going to be held responsible for that. In the court of public opinion, most of the time you'll win that. Sometimes you're going to lose that battle. And unfortunately, that's when it becomes, to your point, detrimental, where it becomes that battle, that negativity that just is so just commanding of the area that it's almost, it's napalm, it's burnt ground, it's all those things that you almost have to start over again and go somewhere else, because it's been destroyed. And I think that social media in particular is, if it gets to that level and there is a person, a company, or whatever that gets to, the biggest thing you can do as a human being is support those individuals. Because at the other side of that computer, currently, maybe not in the future, but there's a human being. And realize that we don't know what they happen that day. We don't know what kind of mental state they're in. We don't know what hardships they've had. We don't know the good things that have gone on in their lives. We don't really know anything about them. We just perceive things. So if you give people that benefit of the doubt, and even a negative person, and you said something beautiful a second ago, you feel bad for them, feel sorry for them, reach out. And if you up for it, wish them good luck in life. Do something positive with that return. And then that way, that negativity doesn't come back on you. It gets dispersed somewhere else, and you did something positive with it. As we get ready to wrap up here today, one of the things I would like you to end on is, what are some of the best lessons you've learned during these processes? Becoming an entrepreneur. I love the package example. Like, you don't know, or parcel, you don't know a city until you've been. That's great, a curry, because you have to go everywhere. And I love that analogy. But what else have you learned? What are some of the big, if you can name 3-4 things that you've really taken away from this that can help other people, and also we can share, what would those be?
Well, you've just put me on the spot.
That's what I do.
Yeah, thanks. What have I learned? I've learned that I can do stuff if I just persist. Persistence is everything. I've learned that I am helping people. So my dream is actually coming true, because I can see it. I can, see it from the light in people's eyes and the light in the dog's eyes. So I've learned that. I've actually learned a lot of confidence. I've learned that I can do shit. Even the technology thing, I just thought, it's too hard. And I thought, fuck it. It is not too hard. We're going to persist. Or we're going to ask for help. Hello, Canva. I don't know. I can't think of anything specific that we haven't already talked about. I just think it's learning that you can do stuff, but you've got to persist. And I think persistence and resilience, is determination, is huge. And I think you said before about people choose their emotions, and they absolutely do. And that was a lesson that I had to learn as well, is that I don't make people feel something. They choose to feel something themselves, vice versa. Nobody can make me feel something. I'm actually making a choice here. That is something that's really important. And also the step-by-step. When you're tired, just do one little thing. When you're tired and you don't want to, and you're grumpy and you just do want to sit on the couch, get up, get off your ass, and just do one little thing, because that will make you want to do more. Not necessarily on that day, but it'll give you hope that you are moving forward.
I love that.
Love that. So we talk a lot about, I think, as a society, the difficulties of aging, but let's talk about some of the positive things that you can look forward to. This can be entrepreneur driven or just in general, Phyll, but what are some things that you feel like people can look forward to as they grow older?
You get so much knowledge. You know, when you actually get out of your own way and you start accepting yourself as you are, which is a hard lesson, you know. So if you don't ever do that, you're in the shit. But if you actually do start to look at that and, as I say, get out of your way, then you can look forward to being able to do all sorts of things. Like some people will retire at our age of 65 here, and that's it. In this country, men die when they retire because they got nothing else. So I think always having something, and as long as you think about those things, then you've got, I mean, it's going to be when we retire from the main business, and I'm just doing the boat building business, and I'm just doing the dogs, the optimistic dogs. I'm looking forward to having some downtime, traveling around the country with a caravan, you know, just having freedom time and also carrying on learning, because that's me. Those are the things when you're not having that 8 to 5 drain every day, you can look forward to it. But also the learning, the knowledge. When you get to my age, you've done a lot of shit and you've learned a lot of shit and good stuff, not just shit. The other thing is that I would say, and that's something that I haven't done enough of over the years, is actually keeping yourself fit and healthy, because I want to live into my old age with my brain going well, and also being able to, I love tramping. You know, being able to do tramping around the country again, which I haven't been able to since my hip got stupid. So I want to be able to do all those sort of things, and you can do that with time, but you just have to have the confidence, and you have to remember that there is life outside work, and that's what everybody sort of forgets. They do their work, they come home, and they sit on the couch after eating and go to bed, and that's pretty sad, really, because they will carry on doing things like that. If they don't have any outside life, outside work, then that's what they're going to do. And they're just going to sit on the couch all day. I don't want to do that.
I want to say, too, I think it's so cool, just even in the time I've known you, which I think has been almost a year now-ish.
Got to be something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. You have grown so much just in that amount of time. Like, I remember when we first started talking, I was like, I think we should do this and we should do that. And I would like a video on this. And like the next day, practically, you had sent me everything. And I was like, wow, she works fast.
Well, that's the other thing is like if you delay in doing something, you'll never get it done. Obviously, you've got to have the time to do it, and you've got to think through what you want to do. But procrastination is a thing. I think the older you get, the more tired you get, because your body is, it doesn't work the same, sadly. It's too easy to procrastinate. And that's why I just think, no, I'm going to do this. I'll get it done. Blake needs it. And that's the other thing, by the way, is that I will always work with somebody who wants to help me. If I'm doing an exercise program or my operation or something, I'm very compliant because they're trying to help me. If they're trying to help me, then I'm going to do what they want me to do. Doing the videos and so on. And then I can go, tick, I've done that. And what does that do to your brain? It does, huge endorphins, because you've got yourself a success for doing those things. And that motivates you to do the next thing.
I love that. And thank you for being on the podcast today. I thought you did great. We've been on almost exactly an hour. You've crushed it. And I've had a ton of fun. Blake?
Me too. Yeah. Thank you so much, Phyll.
Me too. I didn't get a knowledge bomb, though.
We definitely got knowledge bombs. I'll add them in there in editing.
Just for you. Yes, you got a knowledge bomb. You said many things that were knowledgeable, and you delivered them in such a concise way that was fun. And I think our audience is going to just really fall in love with this. So thank you very much, Phyll. You were an outstanding guest. We look forward to having you back on.
Thank you guys for having me. It's been a lot of fun. Yes, I was nervous, but it's been a lot of fun.
Well, Justin, as they say, all good things must come to an end.
Alas, they must. However, this isn't the end, because next week, same time, same channel, we drop another episode.
So get excited, because we're going to be diving deeper into all the topics of the not so subtle truth about success and
the art of sucking less in the pursuit of it. So join the conversation below, and don't forget to subscribe.